What's up, guys? On today's episode, we are so excited to talk to Grant Sabatier, who we have a kind of a connection with that we've known for a while, but we're very excited to have him here to kind of shoot the breeze with us, talk about some of his flipping that he's done throughout the year. So, Grant, thanks for jumping on here with us and spending some time with us.
It's great to chat with you. It's been, 2 or 3 years since we talked, and excited to catch up.
And I was trying to find out when the FinCon that we met you at, if it was 2018 or 2009. I couldn't remember. I don't know, but it's been a little while.
I think it was 18.
Yeah, I think it was 18.
Yeah, I think it was 18.
Yeah.
So I'll give a real quick backstory before we get into it. So we went to FinCon, which is a conference, and we saw
it's a financial and media conference. So.
We saw Grant do a presentation, and right after the presentation, I looked at Melissa and I was like, okay, this guy's awesome. We got to go talk to him and see if we can get him to coach us. And we did it, and we actually coached with him for, what was it, 3 months, 6 months, 6 months. So, yeah. So that's kind of our back where we kind of met Grant. We coached with him and kind of grew a friendship with him. He's a really, really cool guy. But yeah, now we can dive into some of the stuff that he's done and what he's working on. So we're very, very excited to have him on the show today. So yeah, like I said, thanks, Grant, for doing this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
Yeah, so when we were, working with you a little bit, we got to know like some of what you got into, and you did a couple of different kinds of flips than most people. Like, you're not really a reseller now, but you've done some flipping. And so we thought it was interesting. So we definitely wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. The VW. So when we started coaching with Grant, he told us about what he started, and you'll have to fill us in like on the age that you were doing this and kind of I'd love to know more about it. But the VW vans, you were buying some classic vans, restoring them and flipping them. Can you give us some background on that?
Yeah, so where I grew up, 3 doors down, was where I met my best friend when I was 3 years old, and he's still my best friend to today. And some of my earliest memories are camping in his father's Volkswagen camper van. It was 1985 VW Westfalia van. So 1980s version. It's a hippie van, but it looks like kind of like a transformer car. It's a little bit more square. And so my earliest memories were camping in this, and they were always amazing memories. And so when I got to college, I started having this fascination again with vans. I was living in Chicago at the time. I ended up getting kicked out of one of my apartments, and I was like, I need somewhere to live. I need a flexible living arrangement. And so I actually sold my Ford Explorer and bought a 1971 Volkswagen camper van, which looks very much like a Scooby-Doo van. It's all original. I flew down to Houston, then drove it up to Chicago and got an incredible deal on it. Well, this started my fascination with looking for vans on an ongoing basis. And so I started scouring Craigslist just to check out vans and to see the market. And there's also a website called thesamba.com, but it's a little pricier because these are people who are experienced, with buying vans. And I was looking for a deal. And so I ended up selling that van by the time that I graduated college, but I didn't stop the fascination. And I ended up finding a really good deal on a 1986 van for about $7,000. And this is a van that at the time, in my estimate, was worth about $15,000 or $16,000, just based on the comps on the samba.com. And so that was actually my first flip. And I bought the van in Wisconsin and ended up making about an $8,000 profit in a period of a couple of weeks. And so never in any case did I restore any of them. I was looking for hidden gems that I could buy on Craigslist or a local marketplace and then flip on this niche website where everyone, was looking, for these vans, but there was a premium market for it. I ended up buying a couple of them on eBay. I bought one in Washington, D.C. Actually partnered on it, the flip, with my father because I didn't have the $21,000, at the time to buy it. So I found it and I said, hey, Dad, you want to make some quick money? And he knew a little bit about them. And so we drove into DC. It was in 1991, which is the last year they actually made the Volkswagen van again. Complete mint condition, 61,000 original miles. And so we bought that for $21,000 and ended up selling it for $29,000 8 days later. And so, these were always quick flips, and I loved vans. And that's how I actually found the van that I currently have today, the one that I took, 13,000 miles on my book tour in 2019. And that's a 1981 automatic classic van again that I bought with 78,000 original miles from a couple in Everett, Washington. It was a one-time owner and just sat in a garage. But during this time while I was flipping vans, I was also flipping mopeds, vintage mopeds from the late 1970s and early 1980s. That was really my pastime in college. So there was this huge craze in the late 70s and 80s in US cities and even in rural areas where Italian and Belgian and French mopeds were imported into the United States and were quite popular transportation, get about 100 miles per gallon, 49cc stroke engine. And so I got really into those, and I'd rent U-Haul vans and drive deep into Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana and try to buy lots of them. So I'd buy 3 or 4 at a time when I could find them on Craigslist. Those I actually did fix up, and I had a friend who was even better at fixing them up than I was. And, I'd buy them for $200-300 and, sell them for $900 to $1,200. And through this, I was really using that money ultimately to fund my moped habit. And I still have a collection of some of the rarest mopeds in the world that sit in my garage today.
Dude, you're a true flipper at heart, and I didn't even know about the moped, so that's so cool. But you did say a nugget that I wanted to pull out definitely on, were these vans that you originally flipped, were you taking them? I know you're buying them off Craigslist. Were you using that website? Is that where you were selling them on the website where like all the people who, is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that where you were selling them at? Cool.
Yeah, I was selling them on the Samba. So, my view of reselling anything, whether it's domains or vans or mopeds, is I'm looking for that quick flip, and I'm looking for an undervalued asset. And so this is always so much easier to do when you have a passion for the topic. So I was looking for vans all the time because I love them. And, I wanted to obviously find the best deals that I could in order to make money, but I also wanted to find great vans for myself. All the best mopeds I ever found, I ended up keeping as opposed to actually selling. And so the actual flipping habit ended up funding both my van habit and my moped habit. Probably not as much with my domains. I have about 800 domains that I own. I think I'm in the black when it comes to buying domains just because I've bought so many. But like I've always flipped to make money to support the hobby. And now I do this in sports cards as well, as opposed to just doing it as an income source. Like anything that I do, if you can make money at it, it adds that extra level of enjoyment. But yes, I'd buy them on Craigslist and other local, marketplaces as well. So people that knew that I was buying these and interested in them, some family friends, when they would see, a for sale sign on a van, they'd send me a picture. I had people out there looking for me as well, just because I was that guy. At the time, very few millennials were into van life, I was so early on that trend, and people really weren't collecting Volkswagen vans. It was still very, very niche. Like Tom Hanks has a big collection of them, but it wasn't like it is now. I mean, vans that I could buy for $12,000-13,000 now are going for $40,000-50,000 plus today because they've appreciated so much. The ones that are in great condition, and it's amazing for something that is an immense amount of effort to actually maintain on a regular basis.
Yeah,
these things are supposed to depreciate and they're appreciated. That's so crazy.
Insane.
Yeah. Are you still flipping vans and still? No. Okay.
No, I still look for vans, but no, I found, kind of my holy grail van. And so that's the one, that I'm sitting on. Never say never that I won't buy
right.
another one. The mopeds, I still actively hunt.
Okay.
Those have also appreciated. I collect this very specific Puch Magnum moped series, and I'm still looking for what's known as the UPS model, which is a very limited brown and gold production from 1981. I'm still hunting one of those down, and so I'm looking for that diamond in a rough. And mopeds too have gotten more popular. I don't know if you know anything about Moped Gangs. They're called Moped Gangs. There's a website.
Really?
mopedarmy.com, and there's a lot of people, kind of mid-20s to mid-40s, kind of about a 20-year age gap of people who live in big cities who just have these little gangs, and all it is just like a group of 20 or 30 people that drive their mopeds around the city, late at night, and have some beers. And there are female only gangs and co-ed gangs, and they all have their cool little logos and fix up mopeds and trade mopeds. So that's also something that was much more niche and has now become much more mainstream. Like I feel like so many things have done that, and that's what's made at least the flipping ecosystem, I think, so valuable, is that everything really has value today in a way that I never would have thought it would have.
and can still
Absolutely.
find all those treasures
Yeah,
too.
yeah. And yeah, let's transition now into kind of, and you mentioned it, your host, or sorry, not
Domain
host, domain
flipping.
flipping. And that's totally different. Like this is like a totally different, a unique flipper. It's so cool to hear these different stories and stuff. But how did you get into domain flipping, and kind of give a background
What
of
is it?
exactly
Let people know
what exactly it is?
Yeah, so domains are the real estate of the internet. And that's something that I recognized very early on. There's a limited number of .com domains out there, a limited number of one-word domains, two-word domains. And obviously, when I started in the digital marketing space in 2010, I knew obviously this was going to be the future. And like anything else, I couldn't go out and buy, a $350,000 house, but I could buy, a $200 or $300 domain that I thought was valuable, and then try to flip it. And this is one of the things where, I'm such a hunter, such a bargain hunter. I grew up, thrift store shopping and flea market shopping, with my mother. I used to collect, presidential memorabilia. I grew up outside of Washington, D.C. So I love the hunt. And the great thing about hunting for domains and domain auctions is that, you can sit there in the middle of the night, on your phone, hunting these, just kind of like, people do now, looking at Zillow listings or Redfin listings. This is the way I was and still am when it comes to domain auctions. And so domain auctions, GoDaddy's the big one, but there are a number of domain sites now where essentially a domain, goes expired and doesn't get renewed. And then the registrar, puts it ultimately up for auction so they can try to get as much money as they can for it. Over, the past 10 plus years, GoDaddy and Sea-Doo and Dan.com, these sites, they've gotten much more sophisticated about knowing what domains are actually worth. And they're in the, business of making money. And so it has gotten a little more competitive to go in and scoop some of these deals, but there's so many of them out there. And this is one of those areas too, where having a passion, for it makes the flipping fun. So not only is domain investing and flipping enjoyable because I'm a digital marketer, but I'm also an idea guy. And so whenever I see something on TV or I read something in a book and I have an idea, then I go on and look for the domain. And in some cases, this really leads me down, the topical rabbit hole. And so I have not only over 800 domains that I think are valuable, I probably have 100 business ideas just sitting there as well. And so these are always percolating, and sometimes I never do anything with them. But domain, flipping, it's as simple as finding an undervalued domain. And when you pay attention to the market, just like whether it's vans or mopeds, when you know the market and how much something goes for, you can find deals relatively quickly. And so the average price for like a mid-tier 2-word domain now is, between $3,500 and $6,500, when, maybe 5 years ago, that was in the $750 to $1,250 range. And so domains, including website valuations, have continued to explode. And so I was, relatively early, on this trend. I'm not, sitting on any, $1 or $2 million plus domains, but domains that I actually personally saw, sell for $750,000, $100,000, maybe 7 to 10 years ago, now are selling for $10 to $15 million.
Wow.
Home.com, is one of those domains, recently that was picked up for over 8 figures. And I remember seeing that for sale for about 6 figures in the past. And so it's like anything, if I had a massive amount of money I was investing in this, early on, I could have made a lot, but I've probably made $500,000, $300,000 to $500,000, flipping domains, over the last 10 years. And that certainly funded my habit. And then sometimes when I'm launching a new website like bankbonus.com, my site I launched a little over a year and a half ago, that's when I really go scouring and I look for all the related spellings and plural versions. And so, in some cases, I'm not finding those, at auctions. I have to actually hunt down the owners. And that's an entirely different strategy where, you can find a domain that's undervalued, look up the information in the WHOIS global database. And sometimes it's private, but you can hunt them down. And so I do all this searching through Google, where I look and I find someone that owned the domain that, from an email address from the domain posted in a forum like 12 years ago. And then, I really go down the rabbit hole to find these. And I've messaged people on Twitter and, I actually sent one guy a letter because I found his home address and he actually ended up calling me. So, when you're after a domain, you can really, really go down the rabbit hole.
That's awesome. Give me now. I've never done this, so I mean, we understand and relate to business ideas, and Melissa's buying domains all the time for stuff that we think about. But now, if I was going to flip domains, I know you said what $3,500 to $6,000 is on average what you would pay for a two-tier. What did you say?
Just like a mid-tier domain, like Bluebird Restaurant or BluebirdCafe.com.
Something easily rememberable.
Okay. Now, if I was going to buy something, is there a place that I can go and sell this domain, or do I have to wait for somebody to seek me out and do it? Or how does the whole process work if I was going to try to flip a domain?
Yeah, so there's two things. You can be a passive or an active seller. And so, and you can do all of this just through a GoDaddy account or a sedo.com, sedo.com. And what you can literally do is go and sign up for GoDaddy auctions. It's like, I think $79 a year membership. And you can go in there and buy a domain for $200 and then immediately park it. And what you do when you immediately park it is it basically, you can have a form on there where people then contact you if they're interested in buying it. They can either reach out to GoDaddy and then GoDaddy reaches out to you, or they can reach out to you directly. Most of the people who are doing this seriously, they just set up their own simple landing pages, through their host. And so you buy, granttheman.com, and then you redirect that to a landing page that's just like granttheman.com is for sale, reach out. And there's tons of different marketplaces, third-party marketplaces, where you can simultaneously list domains for sale. One of the things that's happening is there's a lot of just, consolidated listings and databases. And so what'll happen is like, a domain will be parked at namecheap.com, and then GoDaddy is able, I think through an API to get that listing. And so you start seeing a lot of listings, the same listings across many different websites, but you can sign up for these places to post them directly. But in a lot of cases, if you have it just parked and posted for sale, the good ones, sometimes people actually then curate those domains. And so, I subscribe to a number of free newsletters for website flippers and domain flippers. And so I get these emails that are like, we found these 12 domains that are in auction, and they're really, they're great domains or they're brandable domains. And so, if you want to sell it, it's pretty easy to park it. And then you can just wait, for someone to reach out to you. So, I had a domain I bought, about 10 years ago. Someone reached out to me recently, made an offer, it was like $2,500 offer. I countered with 11,000, and then we, settled on $9,200.
Wow.
And so, and that all works just through GoDaddy. So they actually had contacted GoDaddy to buy it. GoDaddy reached out to me, and then the negotiation was through them. And then I ended up getting the money, back into my account. So it's really simple to do. And then like anything, you build relationships and people start to know that you specialize in a certain, domain type. But you can also be proactive. So that's reactive. You're just sitting there waiting, for someone to make an offer on your domain. Or if you're really good at trend spotting, so the people who are like early, in the NFT space and went and bought a bunch of NFT domains or alt type domains or crypto domains, they were just sitting on those. And when the gold rush happened, they just completely made bank. So you can anticipate those types of, cultural trends, as well. I have a really funny story. I actually owned KimandKanye.com, the web domain. And I bought that one night. I was watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians with my wife, and Kanye West was kind of one of the guest stars, and he was flirting so hardcore in this episode. I believe Kim was at her Dash store in Miami, and I was like, dude, he's smitten with her. I immediately got on and bought KimandKanye.com and KanyeandKim.com. I ended up getting a cease and desist from Kanye West because I launched a celebrity sort of profile website on this domain, and it got covered in MTV Europe. I had some great backlinks. So when Kim and Kanye actually became a couple, I was #2 on Google. I did some shady black hat link buying. I was just playing with this site. I ended up making a massive amount of money, really quickly, but got a cease and desist, for that website. So there's fun projects, that you can do, when you're buying and selling domains as well. But like I said, you can be proactive. And so, if there's a restaurant down the street, called, the Bluebird, and, their website's like Bluebird cafe for miami.com or
Yeah.
something, and you happen to be in a domain, auction, and you see the bluebird.com for sale for, $1,200, you can go in and buy it, and then reach out to the restaurant and say, hey, I own the bluebird.com, would you want to buy this for, $2,500? I'll make it really easy for you. And you can pick buyers that way that never knew that domain, was for sale. You can also pick expired domains from people that just aren't paying attention, and so they expire, and then you can sell them back, to their original owner as well. That actually happened to me.
Yeah.
So I had grantsabatier.com, and I let it expire. I don't know why it expired, but I let it expire, and someone bought it, and then I ended up having to buy it from them. So they made a quick $1,000. So I've been victim to that as well. So
you gotta pay attention.
You got my wheels just like turning here. Like, I love real estate in the first place, and now you put it onto an online where you can touch real estate for like $200, whatever it is, and either try and approach people and sell it, or park it and wait for somebody to come in. So that's exciting. That's
Dude, I'm literally sitting here with a domain auction that's like right in this right corner. I'm not kidding. There's one that I found it's selling in like 27 minutes.
Okay.
Hurry up, Rob, Melissa, hurry up. I gotta get on
No.
this.
I'm just it's still in my
that's fun.
it's in my purview.
That's
I don't think I'm gonna buy it, but I haven't closed out the
know.
window yet. Yeah.
When we started working with you, we were like, our brand was mostly just Rob, and like you kind of got our brand to be more our family and everything. And we had fleamarketflipper.com, and I waited so long. I wanted Flea Market Flippers because everybody refers to us as Flea Market Flippers with an S, and it was like $3,500. I'm like, I don't want to pay that for the stupid.
What are you
domain.
talking about? This is Grant who is doing this to us. He saw the potential, and he went and bought it, and then he tried to sell it to us.
I bet he did, no.
I'm just playing.
But that would be a really good idea. But so I waited, and then all of a sudden the person didn't redo it, and it was like $300 on GoDaddy. I'm like, yes, got it. So now we got that one.
That's worth $3,500. Yeah. And that's the thing is you can wait, or you can take, because this is the thing. Once a domain's gone, you might never see it again.
Yeah. And I definitely think it was worth that, but I was like, I don't want to pay it. So, but yeah.
Well, brands are everything online. You know what I mean? I paid $17,500 for bankbonus.com, which was an absolute steal. It's probably a $50,000 to $75,000 domain. So I knew it was undervalued. So I had the idea for the site, and I knew that I could just buy it for that amount and likely flip it for a profit if the idea didn't end up working out. Or the thing about domains, I don't have the actual data on the percentage appreciation annually, but it definitely outpaces the stock market. And so that's one of the things I could just sit on it and ultimately wait,
because they're limited amount. I mean, they will run out. All these words, there's only so many combinations.
Dude, you're related to real estate, just like what you're talking about. There's only so much of where it's at. It's just going to keep going up. So that's really, really cool. It's a cool concept for sure. So
I think we have like 80, and I thought we had a lot.
Dude. All right, let's switch gears again.
Wait.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I had a question.
I was just going to switch gears and talk about kind of like, I mean, this is awesome. All of your backstory. What are you doing right now? I mean, Melissa and I know that you got Millennial Money back. What?
That was what I was going to ask, is how many websites are you running right now? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm currently running 3 websites. The 2 primary ones are bankbonus.com and millennialmoney.com. I just reacquired Millennial Money on July 11th, 2022, after selling it 20 months before to the Motley Fool. And so I ended up buying it for a significant discount for what I sold it for. And so now I actually have a website holding company. It's called MMG Media Group. And it's me, I'm the majority partner, but I have 4 other partners. So these are 4 people who are the best of the best that I've worked with in my career, the best front end web designer, back end, web database expert, 2 SEO team members, and they're really the best that I've ever worked with. And I decided, after selling Millennial Money, I had no non-compete. And so I started touring with this idea of creating using what I'd learned and creating a holding company. And our actual tagline is build, buy, scale, sell websites in the financial services sector. So it's one of the things where we have a model and we know what we're doing. And like domains, personal finance websites, the good ones, the valuation metrics only continue to go up. And so if you can build a website that's generating, a fair amount of income, right now Millennial Money operates on a 92% net profit margin, which you really can't get a better margin than that literally on anything, unless you're like selling, vape pens or something, like it's really ridiculous. And so it's an incredible business. And so we're really rinsing and repeating and actively out there looking for websites to buy. So I'm trying to buy as many undervalued sites as I can, as well as partner with people who have websites that I view as being, under monetized or under leveraged. And so, I've talked to about 10 different brands, and I'm in the final stages of bringing on a partner website, so kind of like a sister website under the MMG media ecosystem to leverage our team and our talents. And then the ultimate plans to scale and sell them. You kind of take something that's undervalued and you buy it and you fix it up and you add content to it and you increase the affiliate payouts, and then you actively go find a buyer. And so one of the beautiful things about the Millennial Money acquisition process is I talked to 21 different buyers and really learned an immense amount about how to value a website and structure a website to sell. And so now I have all these connections in this industry and really operate in a very, very unique space, and I'm having so much fun doing it, and it's extremely profitable. And so that's what I'm focused on now. And I'm also writing the follow-up to Financial Freedom. And so this is my second book with Penguin Random House, and it's focused on entrepreneurship. And so whereas that was a personal finance book, I'm writing my first business book, which is really built around kind of this new holding company model, which I think is really the future in business. And so I call it the title is not the diversified entrepreneur, but that's what I call the idea where, when you have these companies that churn off so much profit, you can only put so much back into the business, without wasting it. So what do you do with that money? You go out and invest in other companies and you buy other companies. And so I really think in the future, everyone, they're going to be their, own little Warren Buffetts or, Jay-Z's or LeBron James's in terms of owning, different types of companies and diversifying income streams. And, I'm looking to buy an HVAC company right now where I live in Columbus, Ohio. That's an industry that I have no experience in, but I've identified that as being, a really lucrative opportunity in this market. And then, looking to buy that underneath my holding company and use kind of a similar model in terms of generating leads and building a business. So I actually have a money-making problem. I'll admit it. I have an actual problem, but I think there are worse problems to
There
have
are worse
now
problems. So do you own diversifiedentrepreneur.com?
No, I don't. Someone can go buy that, right now. I don't think it's a great domain. It's too long and it's too easy to misspell entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur is a hard one to.
Yeah.
You want something, that's why I own all the different variation spellings
Of-
of millennial, because for Millennial Money, everyone misspells it, but it's not an issue when you own all the
all the
of them.
different.
spellings.
Yeah, we just launched a appliance flipping course, and so I got applianceflipping.com was available, appliance flipping course. I'm like, and they were cheap. I'm like, sweet, we got these.
Yeah.
Lead them all back. I did want to ask you though, you're everywhere. Like you're in all of these things, doing all these things, and you're definitely a serial entrepreneur and like always thinking that way. But how did you get started? Like in the entrepreneur, like was that just natural? Like when did you start really diving into all this business stuff?
Yeah, I'm just really curious. Naturally, I think that helps. So whenever I buy anything now, the number one thing I think about is, what's the margin of this? What's the business model? I just bought my first home during the pandemic. So I always lived in apartments, but I actually have a house now with a garage and, all that entails. And so immediately buying all these things for my home, I started thinking about, what are these business models? Oh, should I get into the tree trimming business? Should I get into the, like the mosquito repellent business? I mean, some of these businesses are incredible, like the subscription revenue. So I love that. And I'm so curious about all these business models. This really started from, growing up with, parents who had very little money and were always stressed about money. And so, this is something that, I've always thought about money pretty intensely. It was always associated with stress, with me. And so I didn't want to be stressed about money, and really started, in my early to mid 20s, just thinking about money really as a form of energy as opposed to just a tool. And so this is, one of these concepts which, money is really alive. There's very few things that are as powerful as money in our world, or have the amount of power, to shape, our lives and our families' lives. And so that's something just philosophically that I'm passionate about. And we live in such a remarkable time in history where what I'm doing and how I'm able to, wake up, and literally by the time I have my cup of coffee, at 9:30 in the morning, I've made $3,000 or $4,000 on my websites, and I've just woken up and had my coffee. It's like ridiculous that this is even possible, and I know it's not going to last forever. And so I really think that we're in kind of the golden age
Yeah.
of making money online. We've gotten through those early hurdles of where the barrier to entry was high and it was tough to build a website, or obviously launch a course or different products, to now it's so easy to do. Whereas I think whenever you make something so easy to do, when everything's easy to do, it naturally just gets more competitive. And so we're in this sweet spot where like people are really, it's getting easier and easier, so more and more people are doing it. And so I think we're in this last age where people who've been doing it for 7-10 years can use all their knowledge and skill sets. Like I can out SEO anyone that's just started SEO in the last 5 years, but that's not going to be the case, as now more and more people are switching and searching on TikTok instead of Google. And these sort of trend shifts happen. And so I think we're in that last golden age where, for me, like, I have more money than I'll ever need already. I'm doing it to make my team wealthier. All of them are still pursuing financial independence. I'm doing it to have some fun, and ultimately I know that I'm only going to be able to play in the NBA for 3 or 4 more years. You know what I mean? I feel like I've become a really good basketball player, and I'm in the NBA, and I just want to like hang on for a little bit longer. But I wrote a post about this when it came to reacquiring millennial money. I'm like 37 years old, but I'm like 225 years old in internet years. And so this is one of the things where I'm in that sweet spot where I'm going to try to milk it for all I can, and then probably hit like 40, 42 and just fade out. You know what I mean? Hopefully people still care about the books I write, and I'll be investing in other things, but it's just ridiculous what's possible right now. And that's why I'm writing the book about it, because I want other people to recognize that there's a timestamp to this. And especially as our world changes so rapidly, I think we should try to make as much money as we can, as quickly as we can, and diversify, because there's clearly an increasing amount of uncertainty in our world, and we have an opportunity now that might not exist in the future.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Grant, you got my wheels just spinning like crazy. So hopefully everybody listening to
we're
this,
trying to focus.
Everybody listening to this is what we got to see years and years ago when Grant did a presentation. And I'm like, dude, this guy is awesome. We got to go talk to him. We got to get him to coach us. So Grant, yeah, let everybody know who's going to absolutely love this. Let them know how they can find you, how they can reach out, how they can follow you, because I'm sure you'll get that from this episode for sure. So how can people find you?
Yeah. Probably the best thing, check out my book, Financial Freedom. Just Google Financial Freedom book. You'll find it. I talk all about kind of the core tenets, which whenever you're an entrepreneur, having 6 to 12 months of expenses already saved makes it much less risky to dive in, and much less stressful to actually put your whole heart into any form of business or any type of risk taking. So, I think that's really, really valuable and important. If you want to follow my journey, you can go to grantsabatier.com or millennialmoney.com and just sign up for my newsletter. I send out a ton of value on that whole host of topics around what's going on in my life and what I'm thinking about. And then just Grant Sabatier on Instagram is the best way to get in touch with me if you want to DM me, because it's very hard to get in touch with me via email, but not a huge social media poster, just because I've determined that the ROI from a business perspective is actually insanely low. So
I was going to ask you about that, because I was wondering, when we are having this shift, so do you see this shift going more towards social media, or do you think it's still not a great business move for people, for entrepreneurs?
I think it depends on the business. So if you want to build a personal brand, there's no better place to do it than on social media. The risk with that is that, obviously you don't own your content or the platform. And so, you can get canceled, or you can build up an Instagram following, and all of a sudden, all the algorithm cares about is reels, and you're ultimately done. I think diversification obviously is very important, as long as you can keep the quality of your content engaged, extremely high. So I think this idea that, like, quantity over quality that Gary Vaynerchuk pioneered, I think has led to a lot of really homogenous content that ultimately is a limiting factor for people in their growth. I think things will continue to get more niche. And I think we're obviously in the age of vulnerability. I think we're clearly seeing, when I started doing this in 2015, the people that are more open with the struggles that they're having in their business and the mistakes they've made and the challenges ultimately are connecting better with people. I think that's going to continue to increase. And so being extremely open, online, and also from a business perspective, showing how your business fits into your life, not your life fitting into your business. So I think the perfect example of this that I loved is when I saw you all took the road trip, across the country doing that flipping trip where you're posting content, you're doing what you love, you're buying things to flip and make money, but you're clearly showing your children the US and going on a family trip and making it, an experience. And so I think that's the perfect example of fitting your business into your life than the other way around. And so I think more and more people are going to be looking for those models. But I think for me, really, thankfully, I'd already made all the money I would need before I really needed to post that much on social media. I'm such a huge fan of SEO, and I'd rather have someone find me on their own terms and engage with me on their own terms than having to go out and be more proactive on social media. And I think it also comes down to valuing time more than money for me. And so I realized pretty quickly that if I was going to sit on Twitter all day, and I figured out something like, if you've tweeted 12,000 times, you've spent 2 entire weeks of your life tweeting. And these are things that I saw. It's like Twitter never led to book sales, or Instagram never led to book sales. Those things, if you really want to engage in them and they add value in some way to your life, they can certainly be valuable. But I think from a business perspective, unless you're a media company like Harry, my friend at the Rideshare Guy, being across all the platforms, or if you have a very specific, lead funnel, certainly, and you understand the ROI of it, obviously it can make sense. But I think most people just do what everyone else does, and they're not successful, and they wonder why.
Oh,
that is awesome.
Yeah.
Great advice for sure. So Grant, thank you so much for jumping on here and spending time with us. It was great to reconnect, guys.
Go buy some more domains.
Exactly. We'll put the links below so you can contact Grant. You can check out his books, check out all that stuff. So we'll have them below.
I'm excited for your second book.
Yeah,
so.
we are too. Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
It's dope. I was up till 3 a.m. writing, and I'm so tired right now. I'm like, why do I do this? I told my publisher I'd never write another money book.
I remember when you said that.
Yeah, I said never do it again, and now here I am doing it again and loving every minute of it.
You were in the middle of writing Financial Freedom before when we
were coaching with you.
Yeah. So
that is so awesome. Like I said, Grant, it's been a pleasure. It's been amazing. Thank you for all the great information that you provided. Yeah, can't wait to follow up and keep an eye on your journey. We're so excited to see you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, congrats on your success too. Congrats.